There are no Marquis of Queensberry rules in guerrilla warfare. It's a simple matter of kill or be killed.
1942, along the shore of Lake Ontario, 1 hour east of Toronto, a British field agent arrives at a training facility. A half a dozen barrack-style buildings on 110 hectares of farmland. Here in this sparse and Spartan complex are the best and brightest Canadian, American, and British military recruits. They are undergoing a special education, an advanced intensive course in espionage, sabotage, underwater swimming, gunfighting, and close combat. They are becoming secret agents. Traveling to and from the facility, this British agent would have passed by a church, the St. James Bond United Church. This agent was Ian Fleming, author of the James Bond series of books.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
This is the story of the training facility he visited, rumored to have inspired the most famous fictional spy in history, the first ever secret agent training center in North America. This is the story of Camp X. London, September 1941, mere months after the German Blitz. At the headquarters of the British Special Operations Executive, or SOE, sits Colonel Colin Gubbins, Director of Training and Operations, codenamed M. He speaks with one of his top trainers about opening a brand new front in the Second World War. We think the Americans are going to come into the war and they have to learn about all this stuff. Your job is to help train them and tell them everything we know. Before America had even officially entered World War II, Gubbins was ideating a covert training program where British operatives would impart their mastery of shadow war to their younger American cousins and shape America's entire spy infrastructure. The only available SOE training programs were all in Great Britain. Transporting American recruits across the Atlantic would be a potentially calamitous sink of time and money. The solution was obvious: Canada. Camp X was born. There were differences. The average training session at Camp X lasted 3 to 4 weeks. This was shorter than SOE courses in Great Britain. Different skills taught depending on the specific needs of the recruits. Agents destined to become guerrilla fighters in the hills of Burma needed different skills than those meant to be security-focused FBI agents. Camp X was able to cater to the needs of every individual aspiring spy. In groups of 12 or less, trainees were taught essential techniques in infiltration, fieldcraft, camouflage, concealment, and sabotage. First and foremost, Camp X recruits were trained to fight, close combat, knife fighting, and gunfighting.
All right, here we go now. Easy does it.
Camp X's gunfighting philosophy was revolutionary. Instructors would methodically disabuse recruits of their previous firearms training, that a pistol was not used in self-defense. A pistol was a weapon of attack. This doctrine brought about the innovative firearms technique imparted at Camp X, the instinctive method of firing. Instructors had their charges imagine a hypothetical raid on an enemy-occupied house, a stealth mission under cover of darkness. Considering the stakes involved, the recruits' senses would almost certainly be heightened, heart pounding. Then with no warning, you come face to face with the enemy. Camp X's training was clear. Fire. Kill your enemy before they kill you. To aim, Camp X's instructors taught instinctive pointing, the theory being that this was the natural way that any man points at an object when he is concentrating. In drills, students would stand in front of each other. The instructor would shout out targets: right foot, midsection, left eye. Instead of looking down the barrel, the recruit's arm would instinctively come to the center of the body. When practiced enough times, the drill taught the shooter to take intuitive control over direction and elevation when firing. Well-practiced recruits were then given more elaborate exercises. In this scenario, students were told to imagine that they were outside a German beer cellar and given a .22 caliber pistol with live ammunition, gun loaded and drawn, ready to raid. In the past, fighters were meant to rely on a silent approach, a near impossibility. You kick the door open and kill your targets before they have a chance to realize what happened. Camp X's attitude toward gunfighting is perhaps best exemplified by the House of Horrors, a training program set up in similar camps.
Student is to make contact and to maintain it until either he or the enemy is wiped out.
An exercise in total darkness with twists and turns, rickety flooring, and surprise assassins around every corner. One recruit was woken up in the middle of the night and was told he was on a special mission to kill a Nazi holed up in this house of horrors. Paper targets with photographs of Nazis popped up around every corner. The final challenge? A dummy dressed up as a Nazi. In total darkness, except for the light of the cigarette in his hand, not shooting this final Nazi resulted in mission failure. The House of Horrors was the brainchild of one of Camp X's most famous trainers, Major William Dangerous Dan Fairbairn. Fairbairn was a physically unassuming man, but a master at essential skills he imparted in his short time at Camp X. In addition to gunplay, he taught recruits how to board and leave a train traveling at high speed, how to enter a house on the second floor, how to use a rope to walk up a cliff face. More than anything, Fairbairn left his mark on Camp X by developing the basic syllabus on close combat and shaping its philosophy. Get down in the gutter and win at all costs. No more playing fair, to kill or be killed. Close combat was at best a polite euphemism. The purpose of Fairbairn's course was to kill, and kill silently. Silent killing was an essential tool for an agent meant to fight their war without backup and behind enemy lines. When sent to destroy a railway line with explosives or take out a guard watching a bridge, killing the enemy without being immediately detected was essential. Students were drilled in myriad techniques to silently incapacitate enemies, particularly when firearms were too noisy. This need for silence birthed Fairbairn's deadliest creation, the Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife. A double-edged knife honed to a razor-sharp edge. The knife was too dangerous to even use in training, substituted with wood or even short pieces of thick rope. Fairbairn was a master in practical knife skills: how to hold it, how to thrust, how to parry, what body part to aim for, and what to do when you got there. Even in the Camp X Field Guide, the Bible for the entire program, the message was reinforced. In the entry for How to Search a Prisoner, the answer was crystal clear: kill him first. Fairbairn's lessons would eventually come into common use at all SOE training schools. Camp X's lesson plan wasn't restricted to combat. The syllabus offered instruction in myriad skills, all essential to clandestine work. Recruits learned to forge documents, they were taught how to create and read maps, fabricate identities, and manufacture convincing cover stories. Absolute essential to their spy education, recruits also learned how to move behind enemy lines, to maintain an inconspicuous appearance, and to move undetected to conceal themselves in urban and rural settings alike. Recruits learned how to move across open countryside at night to avoiding German patrols, but also, essentially, curious peasants and their dogs. As with killing, the key to infiltration was silence. Recruits were instructed to avoid certain landscape features at all costs. Any farmyard or place where domestic animals are confined is a death trap. Noisy ground was nearly as dangerous as an active minefield. If caught up in such terrain, trainees were taught to wait for counter noise, like a gust of wind or a train, to cover the sound of their approach. Night missions were another level of peril. Agents were to lift their feet higher at night, taking shorter steps to reduce the noise of boots against long grass. Camp X taught that 50 yards per minute was a safe night pace, with frequent stops to listen. One key observation: human ears are badly placed for hearing. Camp X instructors taught that opening the mouth improved this. Recruits were never to move in front of water or the skyline. This was to prevent their silhouettes popping out for snipers. To that end, the moon was always kept behind the enemy. Each student was to blacken his hands and face. They wore neutral tone clothing, neither too light or dark. These tactics of fighting and infiltration were novel in the days of World War II. But to us, they seem old hat, made obvious by decades of media, books, and movies that incorporated these lessons. This is no coincidence. Some of the most famous inhabitants of Camp X were giants in the field of contemporary media. Roald Dahl, author of countless children's books, and fighting ace squadron leader of the RAF No. 80. Dahl caught the attention of SOE when he secretly stole a document showing American plans to dominate commercial airline travel after World War II. He copied it and replaced it without anyone knowing it was gone. From here, he was enlisted to write a history of BSC activities at Camp X. But Dahl soon shirked his duty, instead choosing to play golf and work on his suntan and bemoan Ontario's liquor laws. He wrote to his mother that being allowed only 1 bottle of spirits per month was very disheartening and bad for one's health. He was reassigned shortly thereafter. Another writer integral to Camp X's history was Paul Dane. Before his time there, he was a film critic. He quickly put his writing skills to use, writing the guidebook for Camp X and peppering it with ruthless, acerbic prose. This is war, not sport. Your aim is to kill your opponent as soon as possible. Forget the term foul methods. Foul methods, so called, help you to kill quickly. Dane went on to become a screenwriter, penning seminal spy films like The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, Murder on the Orient Express, and Goldfinger. Which brings us to the writer with the most famous claim to Camp X, Ian Fleming, creator of James Bond. The stories abound. It was said Fleming enjoyed the self-defense and unarmed combat course. He took to firing submachine guns with extraordinary relish. His best course was a long underwater swim by night from the beach, where he attached a mine to the hull of a disabled tanker. In these stories, one stands out, a story of failure. Fleming was part of an exercise where agents were told that an enemy spy was in a downtown hotel. He was told to burst into the man's room and shoot him on sight, and he was given a revolver with live ammunition. In the exercise, the supposed target was a plant, skilled enough to survive the encounter safely. But Fleming balked, lingering outside the room and walking away without ever having touched the door. According to the story, I couldn't kill a man that way. It's widely accepted that Ian Fleming was a spy. What we can't say for certain is whether or not he actually trained in spycraft at Camp X, despite the long-standing rumors. What is confirmed is that he visited the camp. He would have seen the training in stealth tactics. He would have observed close combat training, the knife fighting, and the gunfighting techniques, one day used by James Bond in his books and later on film. Camp X remained open from 1941 through 1945. Even after it was closed, its graduates went on to complete missions for decades in conflicts all over the world, far from their original Ontario training ground. But through these successes, out of all the talented and accomplished trainees that passed through the school, it was an observer, a soldier, and an author who gave Camp X its most indelible legacy. Primary sources were essential to bringing you the story of North America's first spy camp, Camp X, including Camp X School for Spies by David Stafford, and the BBC's Camp X and the Birth of the CIA. Every part of this video was animated, written, and produced by real people. All humans, no AI.